moment here. I'd like to welcome to the stage Napolean Biggs, the founder of WebWednesday Asia. He's going to be interviewing our first tech chat entrepreneur, Simon Long, the founder and CEO of WebWednesday, right here in Hong Kong, and expanding very swiftly. And I'm sure you're going to enjoy hearing his story of how fast they're expanding and where and how they raise financing from some of the biggest names in the business.
So because we're talking about money, and there's a lot of people in the room with money, I'm going to ask you for some money. But it's going to a good cause. Movember. I'm not French, and I've got some fur on my upper lip. Everyone in this room now, please go to this URL and donate 100 Hong Kong dollars to Men's Health. On your mobile phones? No? All right. Generous bunch of people in this room.
Okay, and by the way, if you're tweeting about this event, we're at Silicon Dragon. So, and Silicon Global as well.
So we've got 15 minutes to talk about your life and your business. I just want to tell you before we start, I have the pleasure of interviewing three tech entrepreneurs. One is in the game of raising money. One is in the game of spending money on mobile. And the other one is in the game of gaming. So it should be quite interesting. So let's start with Simon. Simon, why did you leave Standard Chartered? Why did you leave a bank? Was that very hard to leave a bank and start a startup? Normally in this city, you know, if you live in a bank, you work in a bank, your life is made. You get the right wife, you get a nice apartment, you get a driver, and you're happy. Why would you want to leave? That's it next to you. Why would you want to leave a bank to do a startup?
It is surprisingly not that painful. Well, I mean, the life as a banker is pretty comfortable in Hong Kong, as we all know. But I came back from the States after working in a bank. Actually, I've been working in Asia for banks for almost like 15, 16, 17 years. When I came back from the US, I discovered that there's actually a lot of room to innovate how we do financial services.
So you're going back to James's point that you felt the banking world here wasn't moving fast enough with the technology. Is that what motivated you to start WeLab?
It was. I think two things, right? Number one is I think banks were not using technology or implementing them as fast as we wanted to.
It's all about dongles with bank.
It is.
Have you got your dongle?
Yes, and I think the other thing is also right. A lot of us, or many of us from the company, try to innovate bank from within, but we couldn't do it because there was just so much psychological and technological baggages.
And regulations too.
Regulations, of course, right.
So how did you launch WeLabs, and what does it do? It's got a great name. It starts with WE, which I support.
So we started WeLab with a view that we saw how P2P lending is working really well in the US from 2011, 2012.
So for people who don't know what P2P is, could you just...
It is basically borrowing money from friends, strangers, borrowing money from strangers.
Which has been part of Chinese culture for a long time, right? Except
they
charge you 70% interest and they remove your kneecaps, so on.
Yes. So it is basically that, right? I mean, if you think about lending money to a stranger, right, it is a lot to do with trust, right? How do you trust someone that you see on the streets? There's a huge information asymmetry there, right? So it is about using technology. How to use technology to provide information so that you know that it is a safe person to lend money to. So it's like the idea actually started from there, and we actually adapt. And then P2P lending actually adapted itself to many countries around the world. So we adapted it to Hong Kong. And at the end, right, we decided that actually, based on the resources we have, it may not be the most efficient thing for us to do.
So you decided banks aren't moving fast enough. I'm going to go to the dodgiest medium out there, the internet, and I'm going to start lending money to people I don't know.
So that's the starting point, right?
Yeah.
And then we started working on this in Hong Kong, and then we discovered that actually we don't need to do P2P lending because the financial market is actually so efficient. Financial market banking, the financial market is so efficient that we can actually get capital in from elsewhere, but there's actually a very efficient way to do online lending in Hong Kong with the use of technology. So what we started was, initially in Hong Kong, was just a lending business that we don't have a single physical branch. So to date, we have been lending money out for the last 1.5 years. We have application of almost 800 million Hong Kong dollars.
So where do you get the money from? Is the money from individuals giving you, is it like a kind of a better version of Kickstarter? So instead of getting a toy, you get somebody an interest.
So we don't, right now we don't go to a mass market. We go to a very, just friends, family, shareholders, high net worth individuals that we know, we just get it from them. But I think the innovation is actually in how do you lend money to an individual without ever seeing them?
Yeah.
Because
so how do you vet them? Do you troll them on the internet? I mean, how do you check out their LinkedIn profile? How do you, or do you go to your old friends at the banks and say, look, I want to see their credit card statements?
No, we can't do that, but that's a good idea. Let's start calling that.
Yeah. So how do you vet them? I'm very curious. How do you vet them?
So what we do, right, is we use technology. This is where the innovation is. We use technology. We connect to as many data points as possible. So, for example, in the past, when people lend money, right, face to face is the best medium. You sit in front of your branch manager. They see you. They ask you a few questions.
And you beg.
And you beg. And if you're comfortable, you beg a little bit more, and they give you some money, right? Yeah. So right now, what we do is we do something different. What we do is we use multiple data points to understand an individual in the shortest period of time. So right now, what we can do is we can make a decision whether to lend money to an individual or not within like a few minutes. And then the person, 100% of our applicants get money in their bank account within 24 hours. Versus...
And so out of 100 people, how many people do you turn down?
We turn down quite a few, right? Because we want to protect our full return, our brand, and so we select the best customers. So that is actually helping a lot as well. So versus if you're doing the same with a bank, right, it would probably take 5 to 7 days.
So what's the maths behind it? What's the efficiency? I mean, if a bank lends you money, it must cost some money to do that, right? So can you give us the maths, how it works as a business model? What you do with WeLabs as opposed to me borrowing money from HSBC?
So what we can do is we can do it slightly more efficiently from the unit economics and financial point of view for a few reasons, right? Number one is we don't have as many branches. We don't have sales to sell things. We run our operation to date still with, let's say, less than 10 people. So
your cost of acquisition?
Our cost of acquisition is much lower. Our fixed cost is much lower. We just run a website, marketing, that's it. So that actually allows us to scale very, very fast. And we can actually scale up without hiring a lot of people.
So you've done this in Hong Kong, but then I read that you've started doing lending money in China, right? You and Jack Ma are lending money. No, Jack Ma's giving you interest. Well, so do you borrow from Jack Ma and then lend to other people?
Not yet, but I think I should start approaching him.
Yeah, he's got a bit of spare cash.
Yeah.
So how does that work? What are you doing in China? You have a walai dai.
Walai dai means something else.
Walai dai. So I'll buy you a beer, right? Walai dai. Walai dai means I'll come and borrow.
It's basically the Chinese translation of WeLab.
Okay.
So China is obviously a lot more interesting, right? Because in China, you have an even larger information asymmetry where even with the existence of a credit bureau, you can't tell whether it is a good guy from a bad guy, right? So the same methodology that we have, we call it internally called We Defend, which is the technology that we have, to use multiple data points to triangulate and understand an individual, actually becomes a lot more powerful.
And is this publicly available data, or is this?
It depends, actually. Some of them are publicly available, some of them is authorized data from the individual, some of them are device data, some of them are... We just try to collect as many data as possible.
So WeLab here is WeLend is a website, right?
WeLend.HK.
And Walai Dai is...
.com is a website.
As a website. It's not, you haven't teamed up with WeChat. You're lending money via WeChat.
So right now what we've built, right, I mean, going back to what these guys were talking about in the previous panel, right? So what we discovered is mobile it's really big in China, it's working very well, and I think the penetration for our target segment is very high. So what we've decided is in China, we actually don't even use a website. The only product is mobile-based. So we do an Android-based and we do a WeChat-based product that allows us to scale and build customer base very, very fast.
So give us some numbers. How many people are using
Walai Dai? So we don't count downloads. I think downloads is big right now. So I would say that we have around let's say 12,000 members in Hong Kong after 1.5 years. I have 12,000 members in China after 1 month.
12,000 members means people lending money, borrowing money.
Applying money, lending, borrowing, or combined. In terms of members. So we managed to reach the same number of borrowers within 1 month of what we have achieved in Hong Kong.
So let's talk a bit about money raising, because you obviously, when you started your business, I met you and you had, walking into your office, it was basically X head of this, X head of that, head of that. How did you fund your start, your business in the beginning? Did you believe in going to, the angel community, or you like, I've got enough cash, I'll do it myself?
No, unfortunately, I didn't have enough cash, so we did go to the angel. So we actually went to the angel investors, family and friends, ex-senior bankers. What we do is we believe that we work in a finance space, right? Finance is really hard to bootstrap.
Yeah.
So you have to actually do some fundraising, and because you need expertise, expertise from financial sector in Hong Kong are not cheap, right? So they need a salary. So we did a seed round exactly when we started.
So you had a product already?
We didn't have a product. We had me, another co-founder.
Reputation. You had a reputation.
And a little bit of reputation.
Good business plan.
And a very nice presentation deck. That's what we have.
And where did you find the technical knowledge and skill set to build what you were building? Because it sounds quite complicated.
A lot of it actually are ideas that we had when we were working in banks, but it was not possible because banks very much rely on a very traditional way of looking at credit. That's number one. Number two is basically just finding a team of really smart technology people who were able to actually borrow technology from e-commerce, US companies, US similar startups in the US, in China. So we actually copy from a lot of different places, bits and pieces of technology.
But the people were from here, right?
Yeah, the people from
And you just raised a rather large sum for a Hong Kong company.
We did a very...
Some bloke, was it Li Kai-sing? No.
One of them. Yeah.
One of them. So how much money did you raise?
We did an initial close of 40 million US.
Good job. Round of applause. Startups.
Thank you.
That's massive in Hong Kong. That'd be like 140 million in the US. I think we've got to end there. The lady in red is telling us to behave.
It's a good place to end on this one, on this real high note, right? Thank you, Simon. Napoleon's going to stay here, and he's going to interview our next Tech Chat entrepreneur. So let's welcome to the stage Terrence Kwok, founder and CEO of TinkLabs.
Terence, nice.
Okay.
One of the best dressed men in the room with very short trousers. I feel it's like speed dating. I'm not. It's the moustache, and I did go to a British boarding school, but I'm not, sorry. As the French say, je marche pas au voile vapeur. Anyway, so let's talk about your business, TinkLabs, right? You're slightly different. He came from the banking industry. Your product is for the travel industry. So, but you didn't come from the travel industry, right?
No, I don't think so. I'll start by explaining what we do. So for TinkLabs, we have a product called the Handy. It's a smartphone that we're now sticking into hotel rooms. Essentially, when a guest checks into a hotel, they would see his smartphone device sitting there. It acts as a portable ring phone. So the guest can take it with them anywhere in the city. If they dialed 0, they would reach back to the hotel operator. Room-to-room functionality would still work wherever the person is. And on top of that, the device provides the guest with unlimited local calls, unlimited international calls, and unlimited internet. Because so far now, it's still a pain in the ass to get your phone to work when you travel.
So this is the product. Can we see the product? Well, part of it. We'll see the hardware.
It's also orange.
Everything's orange, right? So, yeah, can I hand it around?
Sure.
Oh yeah, hand it around. Have a fiddle.
There's a guy with it also.
Yeah, have a
And there's
fiddle.
another person.
So how did you come up with this idea? You're from Macau originally, right?
I'm not from Macau.
Oh, okay. So were you sitting? Well, you just flew in on a helicopter from Macau, so you've either like gambling.
30 minutes ago, yes.
Yeah. So how did you come up with this idea? Were you bored, or were you like working in a bank?
No, I was a little bit bored. So I think I traveled a lot. A lot of people travel a lot, and essentially I remember once I was in Europe, I had an iPad, I had an iPhone, had a laptop, none of which would work essentially. Simply because I think data roaming back then would still cost $20 US a megabyte. Phone calls would still, to this day, it still costs what, like $2 or $3 US a minute when you're trying to use your own phone somewhere else. So we decided to come up with a product, essentially an entire mobile phone, to hand out to tourists. And then I think the initial business model for us was to look at targeting consumers directly.
So the product's called Handy, right?
The product's called Handy.
Because I remember you had it in the airport here. You arrived in the airport with your little booth,
Exactly.
and you could pick up your Handy. So the idea was for tourists.
The idea was for tourists. So the initial idea was
So it's a consumer-facing product, originally.
Exactly. So the initial idea was to directly hand this out to tourists.
Yeah.
They could land in Hong Kong, pick it up at the airport, and use it. And that was quite a successful business.
But were they ordering online first, or did they?
They were ordering it online. The booth was somewhat prominent, so there were people who would walk over there.
That sounds quite painful, customer service-wise, then, right?
Yes. And then the biggest problem was, we realized the customer acquisition cost was quite high.
Yeah, especially the booth in the airport. Do they charge you a lot of money for the booth?
I think it's probably the highest rent in Hong Kong. I would say for that. How big was it? Like
40 square meters? No,
40
inches.
40 square feet. I think, and it's crazy.
How much? Go on. There's bankers in the room. They love numbers.
I don't think the airport authority would.
Okay, so how do you, so you're selling to the consumer, and you go, this is far too much work. It's far too tiring. I have to hire people. They keep on turnover's huge.
So then we started talking to hotels, right? We then realized we have a very good tech team.
Yeah. Where did you get your tech team? I want to know your tech. Did they come from Cowan Helicopter as well?
No. So most of my engineers are based out of Hong Kong, are from Hong Kong, but I have a very good CTO who was actually with my Combinator.
So you nicked him off Y Combinator?
No, I nicked him off Zynga.
Zynga, oh yeah, that once famous gaming company.
Exactly. So I think the second startup was acquired by Zynga.
Yeah.
They overpromised him on the stock.
All right, yeah, options.
Exactly. So then he left essentially after he had to join us. So device, we decided to start talking to hotels, and then we built some technology to make it essentially a portable room phone. Hotels really liked it. So we decided if we manage to get this into 100% of all the hotel rooms in the city, then that essentially means that have managed to reach 100% of all the hotels.
But will hotels allow you to have it in their competitors, or they can't stop you?
We can't stop.
So how do you charge? You charge by the room, by the user, by the amount of usage?
So no. So what we do is we charge a flat rate per room per day, regardless of occupancy. So we have a fee that we charge to hotels. They pay us no matter how much the guest uses. So they can be calling to the US for 5 hours a day, using a lot of data, making local calls, and we cover that completely.
I always wondered, in the hotel business, they charge so much for an international call. Who actually makes the money? Is it the hotel or the local telco who makes money on charging you $6 to call?
It used to be the hotel, so the hotel marks it up quite a bit, but then now it's very rare that people would still...
So your distribution went from a little booth to working with hotels, so you pivoted into you kind of retired or went into the B2B world, right?
Exactly. Ultimately, the product is still a consumer-facing product.
Yeah.
Guests are still the end user of the device, but we realized that it's much easier for me to sign a deal with a 500-room hotel, and immediately I would be getting 500 users every single day.
So you now have a sales team that goes and sells to hotels?
Yes.
And do they find this a barrier? What's the biggest barrier they find to bring your technology? Are they scared about the fact that you own the data?
No, I don't think...
Are there any privacy issues or anything along those lines?
Data privacy has not really been an issue. I think biggest barrier would be pricing. We charge a lot.
Pricing, yeah.
I think that's one thing. But I think the product is very well liked. For all the hotels that we work with, guests are saying that they're going back to the hotel
because of the product.
Because of the product.
But when you've got them everywhere, they're going to go to. It's not going to be a different.
Well, so then exactly, right. So the whole point is to get into everywhere. So then you can't.
Yeah.
Not have it.
So why sell it to me? Why would I use it? I don't understand. I'd use it because I could connect to the internet. What else can I do?
Because if you were now in, for example, Spain,
yeah,
a foreign country, and you don't have a local SIM card or a phone, it would cost you a lot of money to make a call back to Hong Kong.
So calling is one reason, right?
Calling is one reason. IDD, internet services, data roaming is still very expensive.
So all the data is free?
All the data is free. And then on top of that, there's the content. So we push out, we have a city guide on the device, restaurant recommendations, shopping recommendations, et cetera, et cetera.
So all that content comes from you. You're also a content aggregator, a publisher.
Exactly.
So how do you employ the people to put that content together? Because in the travel industry, it's notoriously, changes every day, right? The restaurant opens, closes, theatre changes.
It's quite interesting for us because if you look at content, we don't need to be updating our content. Well, we do update our content quite often with events and happenings, but then if you look at restaurants and shops and whatnot, if you as a tourist are coming here for 5 days, you're only having like 10 meals and you're only going to 10, 15 attractions. So it's always the most popular ones that we recommend.
And then who owns the data? Do you own the data? Is this like a master play where you will have data?
I think so. Here's the thing: we own the data. Ultimately, I think for us, the business lies not in just charging hotels and making a subscription fee off it. The ultimate business model lies in advertising. If you think about it, the fact that once this product is in 100% of all hotel rooms, I can say I have 100% reach to all.
So you're going to set up an ad network, the handy ad network.
It's being set up.
It's being set up. Interesting. So your revenue is one from hotels paying you on a monthly basis, and then advertising.
Yes. Currently, it's both. We're now trying to figure out in 2015 what that mix will be.
So, and then I heard that you've just done something quite unusual. You've gone and teamed up with a device manufacturer, which sounds really old-fashioned, right? I mean, I remember the old days of, Java phones, that it was a kick if you could get your game onto Nokia, right? So are you embedding your product? What are you doing?
So we didn't really team up with a device manufacturer. So what happened was with these devices, we actually need to buy them, right? What we do, we charge the hotel subscription, so it's the hotel never pays
for the hardware.
Exactly, they never pay for the hardware. It's a service, and so we need to buy a lot of phones, right? Imagine we probably have 7,000-8,000 phones out there, and so we were looking at device manufacturers, and we approached a company by the name of TCL. So based out of Shenzhen, they make the Alcatel one-touch phones. So started having conversations with them. They got really interested in what we were doing because they think by allowing tourists to actually try out their phone, it would benefit them also from a marketing perspective.
Okay.
So what they ended up doing was they came in as a strategic investor.
How much did they put in?
Not as much.
No. Yeah. So they give you the distribution as well, because they must have amazing distribution.
Exactly. So I think the biggest value for us was not the capital. It was the fact that currently I have people in Paris, and my Paris guys can actually just sit in their office.
Oh, because of Alcatel, you mean?
Because of Alcatel, and we even leveraged their logistics and distribution network. So for me to launch a hotel in Paris, they would actually get all the devices ready in Hong Kong, in Shenzhen, get all the software preloaded, and then have to deliver it directly in the city.
And one question that crosses my mind is, how do you localize, because if I'm from Dubai and I go to Paris, is that interface going to be in Arabic?
So for the Hong Kong product, we currently have English, traditional Chinese, and simplified Chinese. It's pretty much impossible for us to provide all languages, right? So I think for each place we move into, we kind of decide what the most popular languages are going to be and then we choose themselves.
So what's your what do you dream about at night when you think about work?
I think
you want like the whole world to be orange?
that would be good.
But how are you going to disrupt? I know it's interesting. You're disrupting a bit you're getting over some barriers, in terms of bandwidth costs, making phone calls, ease of access to content, all that stuff. Do you see this growing into something bigger?
Yes, we do. Right. For us, what we see significant value in having essentially a very high penetration, right? As I said, with the advertising network. So for a lot of places, we're even exploring essentially lowering the price quite significantly and not giving it completely free of charge. So in that case, then you essentially can see us as the media that reaches all the tourists. And just to give you, a tiny statistic, for Hong Kong alone, I think travelers, in terms of retail spend, they spend more money than locals in terms of shopping.
You mean people from mainland China?
Mainly mainland China,
yeah.
But other places also.
But so, when I was in London last time, I came across the Boris bike. You know the Boris bike? Basically, it's the sharing economy. You don't need your own bicycle, you can borrow.
Exactly.
It's happening with cars. Do you see that happening with mobile phones? Could it be in a situation where you can just leave your phone and the next person picks it up and uses it? And because all the information's in the cloud, you just need a password, right?
I don't really think so. I haven't thought about that.
You should dream about that.
I probably
dream
should.
about
I should dream.
All right. Time's up.
Thank you. Thank you.
So if that was Tinder, do I flick to the left or the right?
No, I like that idea. I mean, but the only thing is the mobile phone is probably the most personalized device anyone has, right? So
Not if all your information's in the cloud.
I don't know. People like to hold on to their mobile phones. They touch and feel of it and all that. So, okay. Any questions from the audience? Just really quickly, yeah. Here and let's get it.
Come back, come back, come back.
Yeah. for the.
Terrence, come back.
For these two tech chats that
Simon.
that Napoleon just did.
Oh, there's two. There's not Mr. I Dream Sky.
I have a question for Terence. I see the flow, it just passed through me. It's just sort of standardized. As you unlock it, it's just your option. What service are you using in the background? Like, what's the service provider?
What do you mean by that? You mean telecom
AT&T,
operator?
Verizon.
Right. So we partner with a local operator. So wherever we go. So in Hong Kong, I think of the 5 telecom companies, I think we work with every one of them.
Okay. So could you just offer this as an app? If I have one of the local SIM cards, I could just get this as an app.
We don't. I think ultimately, the biggest value that this thing provides would be the convenience of getting the calls, the internet, the information, and the connection with the hotel. So if you took one of these, you dialed 0, the hotel operators would recognize who you are, right? If we were traveling together, staying in the same hotel in different rooms, I could reach you just by dialing your room number.
Sure.
We've explored that, but it's very hard to offer that as an app. And on top of that, tying in with the business model that we're looking at heading towards, which is advertising, I would want you to be engaging with my device as much as possible.
Sure. Well, just like what the moderator said, it's about having my own device. My data's on my device. If I'm getting onto your device, checking my emails, I can't really download much stuff. I can't really do anything with it afterwards. It's gone at the end of the day.
I think I think with what Napoleon said, the beauty of cloud now is essentially if you just log into your accounts, everything is there, right? So we do allow you to still log into your Google account, and then all your emails, your contacts, everything will be populated. When you check out, because it's integrated with the hotel systems, so everything gets completely wiped off the device.
Wouldn't it be cool if you could use your thumb recognition and when you log in, pick up a handy, suddenly all of the apps and things are what you've got on the cloud? I'd like that. That'd be very nice. Yeah, let's do that. We'll raise some money. He's got some.
Any other question from the audience? Yeah, all the way in the back.
I have a question for Simon. Actually, we are interested in P2P lending business in Hong Kong, and just wondering whether you have been thinking to do really peer-to-peer, meaning that you're raising funds from the retail individuals in Hong Kong, and what's the regulation situation here in Hong Kong? Thank you.
So right now we are not raising money from individuals in Hong Kong. Any regulators here? Don't be shy, any regulators? So we are not raising money from individuals in Hong Kong. I think when we look at our competitive advantage, look at the technology, look at what we have, we actually have sufficient capital to fund the whole thing ourselves. So what we do is we actually don't have to do that. And if you look at the business of running a P2P as a platform, right? So you have people on the left side, people on the right side of the platform, right? And so what we discovered is our actually technology and competitive advantage is actually very much doing the risk management technology side, which is helping the borrowers. So we can actually focus a lot of our resources to optimize and make that part really, really best in class, rather than spreading ourselves thin and go to the other side. But I do know that there are people in Hong Kong that are looking at that, and so you better check with them on how they're going to work.
But I have another question.
No, another person, please. Okay, if there are no further questions on this one, let's give these great